All right, now hopefully this works a lot better. Let's see who comes up. See if we get this on. Hey guys, apologies for that. Just had to try and get the buffering sorted because apparently it was really, really bad just reading through the comments. So hopefully this is a little bit better. Let me know if it is. Hopefully it should be. That we can try and power through as many questions as we possibly can in the next like half an hour or so. What's going on, Joe? You good? Good. Thanks, Millie. Cheers for letting me know. Cheers, Tom. Then we just let a few more people in, and then we can just literally just power through. I tried to retain some of the questions that were on there prior, but I just couldn't. It wouldn't allow me to save anything. So if you have questions, you're going to need to retype them back in. Sorry. Yeah, Tom, I couldn't retrieve the old logs. So if you're able to literally just type in your questions again, that would be great. But this should be a lot better now. It shouldn't be buffering now. Ah, excellent. Cheers, Francesca. I can't remember the point that I was making. Okay, so Tom, you got your question there. So if you're investing long term, does it matter if you're buying a stock at £50.83 or waiting and hoping it would go down to £50.50, for example? So if you invest in long term, the important thing is that you get in, because people try to wait until the stock hits a lower price, but the reality is, mate, you may get into an environment where that just doesn't happen. I mean, look at Tesla right now, right? A lot of people will be thinking, well, you know what? I'm not going to buy it because it's already too high. They didn't buy it at 1,500. They didn't buy it at 1,200, and now it's at 2,000. It's like, whoa, what the hell? And depending on the companies, sometimes, like say for example, Facebook, right? If you bought Facebook when they first announced their IPO, when they first got on the stock exchange, and we're trading at something, I don't know, I think they were trading something like $40, right? If you, at that point, was like, oh no, I'm going to wait for it to go down to $20, you would never would have bought Facebook. So if you're buying for the long term, the important thing is that you get in and buy the stock and then just wait, because you're looking for the long-term value, right? You're looking for the value to increase over time. So just get in and buy the stock now. They say the most important thing is the time in the market, not time in the market. So you need to be in it to participate and have a chance of winning. So yeah, if you're long term, doesn't really matter, mate. 33p is inconsequential. The idea is if you buy it at 50.83, if it goes up to $70, you're laughing, and that's the most important thing. That 13p difference doesn't really make any difference at all. Francesca. So you've already spoken about this before, but can I open a stocks and shares ISA and a lifetime ISA at the same time? Already have a help to buy ISA that I opened years ago. I'm not looking to buy a house yet. Okay, so your ISA allowance is £20,000 per year. Your lifetime ISA will only take up £4,000 of that. So you still got £16,000 that you can use. So yes, you would be able to open up another ISA. One thing I would definitely recommend that you do, though, is speak to the person that you're opening the new ISA with and let them know your situation and let them give you proper advice in terms of how they work with that kind of situation. But technically speaking, because with a ISA, you can only put in £4,000. You still got £16,000, so you have to. You're allowed to contribute an additional £16,000 elsewhere. You can do that either as a cash or a stocks and shares ISA. So yes, effectively. John McNally, okay. Is it best to have an emergency fund before saving for a deposit for a house, then start investing? Yes, absolutely. So your emergency fund is your foundation for everything, mate. You really shouldn't be looking to invest in the stock market if you haven't got like an emergency fund. You need one. It's absolutely crucial. The last thing you want is to be investing in the stock market, then all of a sudden your car breaks down or you need to change your boiler or something happens, then you have to start looking at your stock market investment for money to come out. And God forbid the markets are down, then you have to cash in a loss. So an emergency fund is there to give you stability so that you can really throw as much money as you possibly can at the stock market with a long-term view to making sure that money then multiplies 2 times over, 3 times over. So your emergency fund is absolutely key before you start investing. An emergency fund and a deposit for a house. I mean, in an ideal world, mate, you want to have them separate, but that's the ideal world. For most people, their emergency will form part of their deposit as well, and there's nothing wrong with that. So I think the key thing is, number one, have an emergency fund if you're looking to invest. Number two, don't invest your deposit money. Do not invest your deposit money. Just don't do it, mate. I had a friend who did that, and James, he worked with me in Canary Wharf. He knew better, but he did it anyway. So he was buying a house down in Kent, literally just as COVID was about to kick off. And he thought he'll be smart and invest it in the market, thinking he'll get like a quick return over a short period of time. But when it came to the point where he actually started, forking over deposits for the house, the market was on the downturn. So he actually cashed in at a loss because the market was taking a bit of a hit. Never, ever, ever invest your deposit money, ever, if you can help it. So make sure you keep those things separate. Are there any questions on here? I don't think there are. I think we've covered most. If you have questions, guys, now's the time to get them in there. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to get the logs from the last live, so apologies for that. Something wrong with the internet. And to be fair, I've had issues with my Wi-Fi and Sky for the last couple of months, and some weekends I've not had any Wi-Fi at all. Hence why I think it was about maybe a month ago I wasn't able to do my live on a Sunday because there was no Wi-Fi. So I think it's stable now. But if you have any questions, do ping them in here and let me know. Just going to go back and see if I've missed any at all. I don't think I have. Okay, so John, you got a follow-up question here. Is a LISA worthwhile? Could they change the rules and stop you using it as a deposit? I doubt very much that they will, purely because they're there to do a job, and it's not. The government doesn't normally retrospectively change that, especially when they're making the money available. I think something drastic would have to happen, and the politicians won't necessarily have the stomach for it, because imagine how many people they'll piss off. And in an election year, they would not want to have to carry that bill. So I don't think that they will retrospectively change it and make it so that if you put money in towards your deposit, that they'll change their mind. I doubt that they'll do that. I doubt very much, but you can never say never. Stranger things have happened, but I don't think they will. I generally don't think they will. Oh, mate, listen, switch to BT. That is actually on my agenda right now. I'm looking at moving all of my services at this point in time. But because we're in the countryside, coverage altogether is very, very intermittent. And one thing that I have found is that because BT controls in here, sometimes it's not actually Sky's problem, it's actually a BT problem because of the connectivity. It's nuts, but I am looking at that right now, mate. Thanks for the live session. Just a quick question: what percentage of salary should a beginner trader invest? Okay, so trader or investor, let me know which one you are, mate, because trading and investing are 2 different things, mate. 2 different things. So what exactly are you trading or investing in? is my follow-up question to that. Let me know, and then I can give you my thoughts and a proper answer. Yeah, I saw the thing come up here, Tom. It should be okay now because the warning light's basically just gone off. So Vanil, let me know what you're looking, what are you trading or what you're investing? Just let me know and provide a little bit of context, because trading and investing are two different things, mate. Trading is very much like you're looking for a short-term like win to get a return over a short period of time. So you're either longing or shorting a stock or currencies or a commodity of some kind. Whereas investing, you're actually buying something to hold, typically for the medium to the long term. So those two things are very, very different. You need more of a skill set in trading than you do investing, because there's more to it, it's more hands-on. So trader, it could depend completely on what you're trading, whether you're trading Forex or whether you're trading commodities or whether you're trading stocks. It really does depend. I mean, I'm not a trader. I don't have the temperament. I don't have the patience for it. So that's why I tend to kind of like buy stocks and just hold them long term, because that's what, for the last 8 years, that's what I've been doing for clients and stuff. So that's definitely one thing that, you know, I kind of stay clear of. It's just not my bag, basically. So I can't really speak with any real authority on trading or anything like that. Okay, Evelyn, it will be my first time investing. Would you recommend for a few months because of Corona? No, absolutely not. It depends on what you want to invest in. So, I mean, let's just have a look at the FTSE 100, for example. Let's see, where did it end today? The high of the FTSE 100 before coronavirus was 7,200. I think today the FTSE 100 is at, let me just see if I can get it here, is at 6,100. A lot of time, a lot of growth to be had still. So again, it comes back to the whole idea of it's not time, it's time in the market, not time in the market. You have to be involved. So get in there now. If you invest in, say, you know, FTSE 100 companies, or, you know, your investment portfolio includes the UK, there's some potential really, really good growth you can get off the back of that. That doesn't eliminate your risk, your investment risk. And the video tomorrow is going to talk about investment risk. So make sure you check that out. But, you know, there is never a better time to invest than now, ever, because we don't know whether the markets are going to go down or going to go up, but we know long term they will go up. So you need to be invested and get involved with it now. But you need to understand how the markets work, how investments work to stack the odds in your favor. And you also need to understand how you know, the foundations and the fundamentals of investments work. And again, you know, I've got an investment course that teaches you that entire thing, 4 chapters, 15 lessons, and you can literally finish it on your own, revisit. You've got lifetime access to it, all from the comfort of your own home, basically. So there's a link in the description to most of my most recent videos to that. That will really give you a lot of foundation and the knowledge that you need for it as well. Fish Palace, day trader in stocks is really difficult at the moment, as I know a couple and been their toughest year. So yeah, year for years. Look, things are so volatile, mate. I mean, if you're a day trader, you really need to know what you're doing. You need to know why you're betting that one company is going to go down and the other is going to go up. And that is really all about research, like access to real data. And unfortunately, if you're not one of the big boys, one of the big banks that does this for a living, you're not going to get access to the research and the analytics that they do. So you're kind of guessing on second round information once, you know, these guys have already priced in changes and all sorts of stuff. It's really, really hard to do. It takes time, it takes patience. You have to, you know, study and, you know, get to know the game and how things work. It's really, really difficult, mate, which is why I don't have the temperament for it. I don't have the time to be sat there, you know, looking at graphs all day long and just solely doing that. And, you know, the success rate for some of the day traders is very, very, very low. You can have a really good day, but you might have a really bad week. You know, these things take time to build expertise and confidence in this kind of stuff. And unfortunately, on social media these days, they make it sound as though you can just, you know, spend 10 minutes a day trading and make a fortune. Well, these same guys who are selling these people these courses, if they were doing it and making, you know, thousands and thousands upon thousands by trading 10 days, you know, 10 minutes a day, why are they selling the course? You know, that's always what I ask them. You know, why would I be selling a course for day trading, if I could trade literally 15 minutes a day and make 10 grand, why am I selling the course? Why would I even take the time to build a course? I wouldn't, because guess what? I'll be spending my 15 minutes a day making 10 grand going off on holiday. I won't be building a course for anybody. But, these are the questions I always ask anyway. Tom, a bit of a broad question, but what is Forex? I keep hearing about it, but not entirely sure what it is. Is it like cryptocurrency? No, it's not, mate. So Forex is basically foreign exchange. So basically it's where people trade the currencies. So let's just take the UK currency, the British pound, and the US dollar. What you're doing is when you go on holiday, if you wanted to buy a dollar, for example, they may say for you to get $1 is going to cost you £1.17, right? So what people are essentially doing with Forex is they are trading currencies. So they will say, okay, for today, I think the pound is going to be worth X against the dollar. And if they're right, they make money. If they're wrong, they lose money. But they could also do the opposite. They could say, I think that the pound is going to be less than the dollar by a certain margin. So they're basically saying, I think the pound is going to increase in value today or drop in value today. And based on the assumption of them being right or wrong, in either case, then they make money. But again, I did a whole video on Forex on Instagram. And yeah, you still need to know what you're doing. It's very, very risky. 96% of retail accounts in Forex, lose money. But that isn't to say that people don't make money, because they do. People still do make money, but you have to really understand what you're doing. People often sell signals, and I just think signals are absolute bullshit, to be honest, because signals are just an indication of they think the pound might go up against the dollar today. If it doesn't, then you're wrong, you lose money. And these things are so fast pacing when, like, in terms of movement, like you just need to literally go onto one of the trading platforms. You can do it on Trading 212 as well, and just watch the rate at which currencies change every single second of the day. It's scary. And if you get it wrong, you don't have the nerve to hold, you're in for a real tricky environment. My same friend James, who cashed his house deposit at a loss, used to trade stocks, and I used to watch him on the trading floor in Canary Wharf when he's trading his own personal money. Some days he'll be absolutely like buzzing because he's made like £3,000, £4,000, £5,000. Then other days he's tearing his hair out because he's lost 6 grand, 10 grand, and like he doesn't do that anymore because he doesn't have the skill for it anymore. It's just it was too stressful for him. He can't do it anymore. And that's the kind of stuff that you have to bear in mind. You need to have a certain mindset and psychology for that kind of stuff. It's not for the faint-hearted. It really, really isn't. And it does take work. It's not like all these guys are saying, you can just buy signals and cash in a load of cash. Like, it still requires some work. Daniel, how you doing? Hey, Pete. I hope you're doing well. Now, are you still considering Intech Palmer? Yes, I am. I'm still looking out on some news because I've been looking at the stock price, and I've been seeing them down. So I think when I did the review video, they were like 44 cents, and right now they are at, where are they? They're at 28 cents. So I don't know what's going on there. I wanted a bit more information about the business because I know they've got a lot of stuff going through FDA, going through trials for FDA approval on the Alzheimer's side of things. But really, before they get that, I would like to hear that the last round of trials are really, really good, and they have pending or likely to be approved FDA approval. If I heard that, then I'll probably go and buy. But at this point, they've lost almost 50% since I last reviewed them. So I'm holding off, and I didn't pull the trigger on them, but I am looking at them. I'm still monitoring them. The problem that you have with companies like this, mate, is that the risk is high, right? So you could go and put a couple £100 in. You got to be willing to lose that. But the reality is you could really lose that. Like, the share price is 28 cents. It's not far to go from 28 to 0. It really, really isn't. You look at, companies like Facebook. Well, Facebook is $271. That's a long way to zero. At 28 cents, it's pretty big risk. So any money you put onto a company like that, you have to be willing to say goodbye to it. Like I said, since I last reviewed them, they're down almost 50%. So I'm not buying these guys until I get a little bit more wind of what's going on with their FDA stuff and how the drug development is actually going, and maybe some more results from the Alzheimer's things. But it's still on my radar. I've just not bought yet. I've not pulled the trigger intentionally. Right, what we've got here. Krishna, okay, when will the bubble burst? So should we buy crypto? God knows when the bubble's going to burst, mate. I mean, look, it's one of those things that if we all had a crystal ball and we knew when that was, we'd all pile money in just after the bubble bursting and ride the wave up. But we just don't know. Should you buy crypto? I had a digital wealth conference a couple of weeks ago, and I had one of my mates, Tyrone, talk about crypto, and he is the king of crypto. Like, there's nothing he doesn't know about cryptocurrency, and he's very, very bullish on Bitcoin specifically and on Ether. He thinks those are the two where there's value locked in and long-term growth. Those are his views. He's a financial advisor. His practice in America is solely built on cryptocurrency. That's it. He doesn't even do traditional stuff anymore. He doesn't invest in equities, doesn't invest in bonds. He doesn't do any of that. He literally just invests in crypto because he thinks that crypto is a big, big, big opportunity, in particular Bitcoin and Ether. That's his philosophy. That's his beliefs. Those are his beliefs. So should you buy? Possibly yes. But again, you just need to be aware of how crypto works. I mean, I hold a little bit of crypto, but I don't really fully understand how it works. And I never invest heavily into something that I don't really understand. That's just the number one rule, really. So I'm on a journey at the moment to kind of educate myself and get my knowledge up on crypto itself and put more money in. But yeah, should you invest in crypto? Yeah, possibly, but just make sure you know what you're doing. Yeah, you're not wrong there, mate. It's like betting on a roulette, red or black. Just don't do it. Look, forex trading, trading. Period. If you don't have the know-how, just stay away from it. Period. That's the best thing I could tell you. That doesn't mean don't go and get the knowledge to go do it, so that you can potentially build yourself something and make a lot of money. But make sure you get the know-how of how to go about doing it. It's the same thing with investing, though, guys. Like, we're talking about buying stocks now, and using all these trading 212 and free trade. You still have to understand how things work, right? So a lot of the time, I talk about an investment course, right? The investment course is designed to put you in a boat on a river with a pole and bait full of fish. That's what the investment course is designed to do, to give you the foundational knowledge so that you can just, exactly what you're doing. You understand how the fundamentals work, so you know how to make an informed decision when you're buying companies or when you're building an investment portfolio. This, to a certain extent, is me kind of like fishing for you. The idea is to get you to the point where you can literally go and fish for yourself, because that's how you're going to be successful. That knowledge is really, really important. So things like, the investment course, 4 chapters, 15 lessons, you can complete that in 96 minutes, right? You've got tests that will help you keep track of and, test your knowledge and all that kind of stuff. There's a lot of material as well that I put in there that you can download. You on your own lake, in a boat, with your rod and your bait, on a lake full of fish, knowing how to fish for yourself. That's really, really important, guys. So, whether you're doing trading or anything like that, you have to have the foundational knowledge. You have to go seek that out. And that's the whole purpose of this, and why I put the investment course together, so that you can literally just take that and just go do that on your own. So knowledge is key. Knowledge applied is power, though. Right, okay, so Kenny, I have a target retirement ISA set up with Vanguard. I have 10K in there already, but could I add more? Would you recommend maxing out a stocks and shares ISA, or should I use the money elsewhere? Okay, so follow-up question for you, Kenny. How old are you, first and foremost? You've got a retirement ISA. So do you mean a LISA? Because that's the only retirement ISA that I'm aware of, mate. Or are you saying you have a pension? For me, if you had to pick between a pension and an ISA, I would go with a pension because you have better benefits all the way through, actually, than you would do an ISA. So let me know what you mean, retirement ISA. Do you mean a LISA? A Target 2050 ISA fund with Vanguard? Hang on a minute. Let me just Google this. 1 second. Target Vanguard Target 2050 ISA. I've not heard of this, mate, so I just need to just double check what you've got here. Because the question that I'd have is, why have you got that instead of a pension? There may be a good reason for that. Key facts documents. Right, let's have a look at this. It's the kid. Target retirement fund. Yeah, so it's a target retirement fund, mate. It is a pension. It's not an ISA. Not according to the key investor information here. It's a target retirement fund. So that will be a pension, mate. So if you're 35, I guess you're working, you're employed. You also have a pension through your job as well. Okay, cool. So I guess you're working, you're employed. So your pension, so the maximum you can put into a pension is £40,000 per year, but you have to be earning £40,000, right? So if you're earning, like, say 30, then you can't put 40 in. You can only put a maximum of what you earn, but the allowance for an ISA per year is £40,000. So if you're looking at, let me just find your original question, mate, because I've just lost track. Looking through all of that, would you recommend maxing out a stocks and shares ISA, or would you use the money elsewhere? Mate, you're going to get so much more benefit from a pension. So much more benefit. You're going to get tax relief on the way in, which means that if you're paying, so let's just say you're a 40% taxpayer, right? You're going to get 40% on every contribution you or your employer makes, free from the government, added back in, right? It's going to be invested way more tax efficiently. Now, the only downside with a pension is you can't access it until the age of 55. That's the only downside, which for you is in 20 years' time. But in 20 years' time, if you start putting some serious cash into that, you'll be amazed at how much you can have. And the beauty of it is, in 20 years' time, let's just say you get, I don't know, I'm just going to make a really big number up here, right? Because I've seen it happen so many times. Let's just say you get, say, £1 million in there, right? At 55, you can take a quarter of that completely tax-free. You can go and buy a house, go buy a Ferrari, go on holiday, blow it in a casino if you wanted to, completely tax-free. Pensions are amazing. They are misunderstood and understated. So if it was me, I would put it into a pension, but then again, I don't know your full circumstances. And that's where, if this is going to be a real kind of like point of contention for you, you need to take some personal advice to see which one will be best suited to you, because I don't know what your goals are. I don't know what your long-term goals are. I don't know whether you're going to need the money at some point in the near future. I don't know those things, but pensions are extremely advantageous, but ISAs are also tax-free. You can only save £20,000 per year into it. Your income, however, is tax-free when you use an ISA to generate an income. So there are disadvantages and advantages to them, but I don't know your personal circumstances to say definitely do this. You need some advice. So if you want to chat with me offline, mate, we can do that, but we just need to work out what the pros and cons of each of them are for your specific scenario. Now let's have a look at this right here. What's your top 10 stocks must buy, long-term hold, future? Is National Grid one? National Grid, well, look, the country is always going to need energy, right? So National Grid will always be there, regardless of whether you do renewable energy or not. It's always got to go through the National Grid. So potentially really good kind of company. If I had to choose 10 stocks long term, there are so many companies out there, mate. It depends what kind of investor you are. Whether you're, a growth investor, whether you're a dividend investor, it completely depends, mate. I mean, the companies that you pick should basically tie into your investment goal. So it's hard to say top 10 because the top 10 might not meet what your goals are. So what are you looking to invest for? But you would immediately go for, the big boys, the guys that everybody knows, the Apples, the Facebooks, these companies that have been around for years, that are stable and, I've always had a good track record. Coca-Cola, Walt Disney, all those kind of people. Those will be, the simple ones to go for. But if you're looking for growth, for example, then those companies might not be the best ones for you. You might be looking at an Intech Pharma, for example. But it all depends on what you're looking to achieve. Can you show us your portfolio? Yeah, I have shown it on a couple of other videos and stuff like that. But at the moment, if I show you my Trading 212 portfolio, I've only got about 4 companies in there at this point in time. But like I said, I hold most of my money within funds. So all of my money is not invested here. I have a very, very small amount invested in Trading 212 and Hargreaves Lansdown. Most of it is invested via funds because I still am a firm believer that investing in funds is one of the easiest ways for you to get the exposure that you want and have all of the diversification and the risk management that you need as well. Well, by using Trading 212 and Hargreaves Lansdown, you are only using 1 out of 4, 5, 6 buckets or baskets that you can invest in, which to some extent is completely counterintuitive. So again, it's about understanding how these things work, right? Just don't go and put all of your eggs in Trading 212. Don't do that. Really, really, really don't do that. You have to have a mind of how you're going to diversify. It's really, 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 really important. And if you want to build wealth long term, you cannot ignore the other investment baskets or asset classes that are available. Doing that is suicidal. It's nonsensical. Using just equities alone is, number one, high risk. Very, 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 very high risk. Missing out on so many other things. You're missing out on bonds, on property, on commodities. You're missing out on all of these things. So, I do show my portfolio on here in Trading 212. Like I said, I have only got in here. Where is it? I've got Apple, Facebook, National Grid, and Virgin Galactic in here. Those are the 4 that I have in here. And in Hargreaves Lansdown, I've got Tesla and I've got Disney. I did have Boeing, but I got rid of that. I saw that profit took a little bit a while ago. So, but all of my money is not just in these. I invest in funds. Let's have a look. It's a type of fund. Yeah, it's a life. Yeah, the life strategy. Yeah, so they'll be doing a little bit of they call it lifestyling, basically, Kenny. But again, we can talk. Which was that? Okay, so which stock platforms do you use? Like I said, I've used Trading 212 and Freetrade. Nikki, so hard to save and invest on 24,000 while renting. Trying to max out my LISA for the next few years for a house. Mate, look, I feel that pain. I definitely do. 24K doesn't go a long way, especially if you're in London as well. It goes a little bit further if you're elsewhere in the country, but I do know that it can be really, really difficult. I think one of the things that is worthwhile just bearing in mind is, if you're looking to save for a house in the next few years, if you have to cut some fat and make some sacrifices now, do that. Because, I always say to people, it's only going to be short, temporary pain, right? It might mean that you've got to sacrifice Spotify or a Netflix, subscription here and there, but it does add up a little bit. But I know that it can be really, really hard. Budgeting is really, really important, mate. And I do believe in balance. I don't believe in stripping out everything. because at the end of the day, if you're going to work, you need to ensure that you're still doing things that you enjoy, because otherwise it becomes way too painful. So you need to find the balance. But if you have a budget in place that allows you to do the things that you want to do, but still be able to funnel money into a deposit for a house, then at least you find a little bit of balance. And I coach people on how to do that. So if you want to have some one-on-one time, just let me know, mate. Just ping me a message on IG. What's the difference between a growth investor and a normal investor? So there are different kind of investors, Tom. You've got growth investors, which are the guys where they're saying, right, okay, so for me, when I buy a company, I'm looking for them to basically grow by X amount per year. So they could be 10, 15%. So if you're a growth investor, you're not buying Walt Disney and you're not buying Coca-Cola. You are going to be buying new companies like Intech Pharma, for example, and you're going to be picking those kind of companies that are developing something new, coming into the business, coming into the market with the potential to make just millions and do really, really well. Those are growth investors, because when you get in at a low price and if the share price explodes, boom, there you are. But then you do have, dividend investors. So dividend investors will be the guys who literally only buy companies who pay dividends. That might be a bit hard right now, because guess what? 50% of the FTSE 100 are cutting their dividend payments. 20% of companies in Europe are also cutting their dividend payments. So dividend investing right now is very, very difficult. But those are just a couple of examples of investors. You do have the contrarians and all this kind of stuff. They go against the grain. You have value investors. Warren Buffett is a value investor. He will only buy companies where there is long-term value in the business. But again, it's understanding, right, what's your goal and what kind of investor are you to help you get to that goal. I keep referencing back to goals. It's so, so important, understanding what it is that you want to achieve over a period of time. Funds, yeah. So funds, if you look at people like Wealthify, they provide funds basically. So the way I like to explain it is, if you like chocolate, you can. So trading 212 will be like buying one company and buying one Twix, right? So one Twix bar or one Mars bar, right? So you're buying one thing. A fund is basically like a box of celebrations. So you get a variety of everything, all in one little container. That's effectively what a fund is. So that's what I do. I invest in a container full of just loads of companies, big companies all over the place, all over the world. And that is the best way to explain what a fund basically is. It's a collection of companies put together in a container where your money goes in and the money is divided amongst the companies that were invested in, that are within that container. Yeah, Tom, sticking to the term, don't put your eggs in one basket. How many baskets should you have? And should you distribute your eggs into each one? Yes, you should. So if, again, on the investment course, I go through all of the asset classes and explain how they actually work. So each asset class or basket does a specific job. So if you're looking to achieve a certain thing, it's all about making sure that you have the appropriate basket doing the appropriate job to help you get to your goal. But effectively, I explain it using 4 baskets. I explain it using equities, which are companies, property, which is commercial property, bonds, which is basically companies and governments, and cash, because cash is an asset class as well. And I cover all of that in the investment course and explain the job that each of them has to play. And I explain it in a football analogy. In football, you've got your strikers, your midfield, your defense, basically. You've got those three departments of the game, right? Players. And each player has to do their job in order for you to win a match. It's exactly the same thing when it comes to investing, using asset classes and making sure that you've got your money in different baskets. You need to make sure that your strikers are working along with the midfield and your midfield are working alongside your defense. And if everybody pulls in the same direction, you win a match. If one person isn't doing their job, you're potentially going to lose. And that's the whole point of using asset classes or baskets. So how many you should have is depending on what you want to achieve. Do you use more bonds than you do property? All depends on your risk profile as well. How much risk are you able to take? Not willing, able to take. Watch the video tomorrow. I talk a little bit about risk in the video tomorrow to kind of hopefully bring this together. And I give an example of what bonds basically do and the jobs that they basically do as well. But again, it's all in the investment course. It will tie everything together beautifully and give you that foundation that you basically need as well. Paul Cody, if you had £80,000 spare cash in a cash ISA, how would you get in the stock and shares ISA, i.e. which investment company would you drip feed or lump sum? Okay, so if I had 80K right now and I was going to invest, I would probably choose one of the big boys. So out of all the guys that I reviewed, I would either choose Wealthify or I would choose Nutmeg. That's assuming that I didn't want to take any personal advice. Now, me being me, I would take personal advice from a financial advisor, because a financial advisor will be able to build a portfolio that basically ties in with your specific goal. So, Paul, you've got 80 grand spare cash. What do you need that 80 grand to do for you? In 3 years' time, in 4 years' time, in 5 years' time? Depending on that answer will determine how it's invested. Whether you go high risk, low risk, whether you do something quirky, and there's lots of stuff that you can actually do. So if there are two answers that I'm going to give you. First, if I just wanted to just like dump it on somebody, not take any advice, I'll probably put it with Wealthify or Nutmeg. If I was going to do the really smart thing, I'll sit down with a financial advisor and say, listen, these are my goals. This is what I want to do in 3 to 4, 5, 6 years time, whatever that timeline might actually be. Where should I put it? And let them go away and build a recommendation to say you should put it here, 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 or here. That's what I would do if I had 80K spare cash available. Have I held a Wealthsimple Canadian fund? I think they do fund invest in this. They do. I did a review on them as well, mate. So there's a review video of them on the channel as well. So definitely go watch that. But yeah, they are a pretty big company as well, actually, as well. And people have requested that review video for ages. So I finally did it. I think I probably did it maybe about a month ago or something like that. So yeah, but they are pretty big. They're very well known as well. And I love their website. The website's actually quite quirky. The way they illustrate what they basically do, they're really, really good. Skilled funds. I'm currently invested in an S&P 500 index fund, mainly invest for long-term growth, 5 to 10 years. Should I consider individual shares too, or stick to funds? If you're going to consider individual shares, do the research on the shares that you are going to be buying. That would be the biggest thing. Again, when it comes to, you're already invested in an index fund. So an index fund will be invested in pretty much in a basket of companies that were in the S&P 500. And the guys that are in the S&P 500 are no joke. They're like big, serious companies, mate. And the luxury of it is you probably have people actually already, who have built that index fund for you and done all of the due diligence on all of the companies that they're invested in within that portfolio. They would have taken away a lot of the work that you will have to do yourself if you go and buy individual shares. So if you've got the time to do the research and you want to, learn how these companies operate and the things that you need to bear in mind, then absolutely. But I think you're in a pretty good place right now with the S&P 500. You really, really are. If you're investing in the basket of funds there, companies in the S&P 500, you've got a box of celebrations. So what you're looking to do is you've got a box of celebrations, and one of the things that you're looking to do is basically go and buy a Mars bar individually, and you've got all of this loveliness in that box of celebrations. You can do both. There's nothing wrong with that. That's what I'm doing right now. But I'm only doing this because on YouTube, because of the kind of content that I'm creating, I find it hypocritical if I wasn't doing this myself, but telling people, oh, you need to be mindful of this, this, and that, right? So I'm literally investing in these companies and doing this via Trading 212 and Hargreaves Lansdown Trading 212 exclusively because I've had my Hargreaves Lansdown for years, because a lot of people are using Trading 212 now. So it will be wrong of me to comment and talk about Trading 212 if I didn't know how things worked, right? Or what information they provide. So just bear that in mind. You can do both. But if it was my money, S&P 500 is pretty big, mate. That's a really nice box of celebrations. What funds do I invest in? I've got all kinds of different funds, mate. Most of mine are basically long-term. Yeah, I've got all kinds of stuff in there, mate. I've got my pension funds, I've got other investment bonds and stuff like that as well in there. My investment fund itself, my pension fund itself, is actually a long-term, very, very high risk investment because I don't need it for 25 years-ish. So it's high risk at the moment. I recommend the auto invest function on Trading 212, £25 a month on S&P 500 over 10 years. I can't say that I've looked at the auto invest, mate. I might have to have a look into it. I've not looked at it. Looked at it. It will depend on how it's investing. So is it selecting the companies, and in what ratio is it selecting companies? But again, you know, with Trading 212, you're only using one basket. You're not using bonds, property, or anything like that. That adds value elsewhere. So it depends on what companies they're invested in and what ratio. But I'll have a look into that actually to see what the auto invest function is. I've not come across it. Millie, thanks so much. Open the money box stocks and shares using your advice and help. Obviously, in the current climate, it's not exactly blossoming right now. Any tips, or is patience the answer? Patience is the answer, Millie. Seriously, if you're investing for the long term, the right now is a blip. Oftentimes, people will always get nervous about investments not performing right now, particularly if it's not just bubbling along like steady Eddie. If you see it dip, people really, really do panic. And when I was a financial advisor, I used to have clients panic all the time. Oh, it's down 3%, it's down 5%. Like, that's our natural instinct. We've got the whole fight or flight feeling, right? That's there to kind of protect us as human beings. That's natural. But I always have to remind people and say, look, if you're investing for the long term. Just look at the way the markets have performed over the long term. They always return in the long term. So patience is the key. You're not always going to see, you know, performance increase day on day, every single day. There will be down days. There will be days where it's just, you know, stagnant. But the idea is, if you're investing for the long term, just hold your nerve, be patient. And as long as it's returning over the long term, that's the most important thing. If you've got investments, Millie, it's really important to, you know, review your investment on a yearly basis. At least keep an eye on it every quarter, but definitely review it every single year just to make sure that it is making progress. And if it's not, then you might be in a position where you want to then maybe change providers or do something a little bit different. But, you know, this is not just about buying and just leaving it. You have to review it on a regular basis to make sure, because, you know, circumstances might change and things might change and your outlook might change. So it's really important to bear that in mind as well. Oh, you can choose your own companies and ratios on Auto Invest. Okay, I didn't know that. I'll need to have a look at that actually, to be honest, mate. I'll have a look at that. I might do a video on that actually as well, just to explain it to people if they're not really aware of it after I've had a look at it. Paul, thank you for advice. What is the going rate cost wise for a good independent chartered financial advisor? Completely depends, mate. Most of them will have a consultation with you completely for free and not charge you anything. It's only at the point of they come back after they've had a meeting with you and you've discussed your goals, what you want to achieve. With a recommendation, they'll say, right, Paul, based on everything that we've discussed, and they'll relay a lot of the discussion back to you, this is what we recommend. If you then say, yes, let's press ahead with that, then typically what they will do is they will charge you between 2 and 3% of the amount being invested. And they might have an ongoing fee because obviously they'll be reviewing it for you every single year and managing it for you as well. But the initial consultation to sit down with them is completely free. It doesn't cost you a thing at all. So even if you do take a free consultation, mate, at least you're going to get to know what they would suggest that you do after that consultation. If you then want to do some work with them, that's the only point where you actually then pay. But if you don't know anybody local to you, I know a lot of really, really good financial advisors that I've worked with over the years, and yeah, they'll be able to give you some good advice and guide you as well. All right, cheers, Millie. Right, I'm just conscious now, it's now 10:15. So let's have a look and see if there's any other questions to come. If not, I know this has been a bit of a disjointed one, guys, but I do appreciate you persevering with me on this. The next live is going to be on it's going to be 2 weeks from now. Let me just check the diary. It is going to be on, it's going to be on a Sunday though, not on a Monday. So the 23rd, 14 days from there is going to be the 13th. So the next live is going to be on September. Can you believe it? September already. September the 13th. It'll be a Sunday, 9 p.m. Hopefully we'll have better connection and more stable connection at that point. But yeah, thank you so much, guys, for tuning in and for all of your questions. There will be a few more announcements over the next couple of weeks. Certainly, thank you for the feedback on the workshops and webinar as well. That's something that I have been thinking about putting together, but just a little bit of feedback from you guys is great. So thank you. I'll come up with something that will help on the investment side of things as well. There's one other question on here, Cloudflare. I haven't come across Cloudflare, mate. I will have a look at them and see. There's a few companies that people have been throwing at me over the last couple of days. I had a meeting on Saturday with someone, and they were asking me to have a look at a couple of stocks and stuff. So yeah, Cloudflare I've not had a look at. By the sounds of it, they sound like they're a tech company basically, but I'm not sure. I'll definitely have a look into it though, Darius, and have a look. Mate, Nikki, I wish it was 30,000, mate. We'll get there at some point. But no, thanks for, I really do appreciate it. 3,000 subs, and that was only on Thursday. And to be at like 3,140 or something like that right now is just mad. So as the channel grows, I do want to do more giveaways. I'll be announcing the winner to the giveaway on Friday. I do want to do more giveaways. I kind of said at the top of this live, if you didn't join already, that one of the things that I really do want to do is I actually want to be in a position where the channel grows really, really well, and I'll actually be in a position where I can actually help people pay off their monthly bills. That's what it's all about. I talk about money, so it doesn't feel right to me doing giveaways, and it's just like for things like phones and stuff. Like, why? It's just like there's no synergy whatsoever. But yeah, that's my dream. Be able to do like a competition and pay someone's bills for like 2 months or something like that. That would be really, really nice, and that would be a real nice, tangible way of actually helping people. I actually wanted to buy stock for somebody, but obviously you can't do that with trading 212 and free trade because of anti-money laundering and all this kind of stuff. So, the 100 quid, you can do whatever you want with. But again, these kind of things I hope to continue to do as the channel grows. I want to be able to give, some of the bit that you give me in terms of the AdSense earning and all this kind of stuff back to you guys and add value in that way. So, it is coming. We will get there. But guys, thank you so much for tuning into this live. There's quite a number of you. I'm just looking at this. It's absolutely fucking crazy. Like, this is mad. But it just shows that people are interested in hearing this stuff. And if I can be of service, then this really is just music to my ears. So guys, I will see you on the 13th. There are no surprises, no birthdays or anything like that in the diary. So I will see you on the 13th of September. But again, thank you so much for dialing in. Watch the video tomorrow. I'm talking about risk versus reward, and I give an example of equities and bonds, and I talk about volatility and all that kind of stuff. So make sure you watch that video tomorrow, and then, collate some questions and have a discussion with me in the comments. I always answer all of my comments, so make sure that you do leave comments, and I'll come back to you and we can have a discussion in there. And if we need to, we can jump on him on the 13th and continue that conversation as well. But guys, I'm going to sign off. I've got the video for tomorrow to actually edit and get uploaded. So it's going to be a bit of a long night for me. But guys, catch you later on. Cheers.